The Democratic Republic of North Korea, commonly known as North Korea, has occupied a unique place in international diplomacy since its founding in 1948. Although its relationships with many countries have evolved over time, the arrival of leaders from friendly nations and strategic partners in Pyongyang has remained an essential part of its foreign policy. This trend has become even more noticeable over the past decade as presidents, prime ministers, cabinet ministers, and senior government officials from various countries have made official state visits to North Korea. These visits are not merely ceremonial occasions. They are designed to reinforce long-standing political ties, open new avenues for cooperation, strengthen economic and strategic partnerships, and publicly demonstrate mutual trust and diplomatic support on the global stage. Every state visit to North Korea is meticulously planned, carefully choreographed, and rich in symbolism. Nothing is left to chance. From the moment a foreign leader's aircraft lands in Pyongyang until the final farewell at the airport, every detail follows a precisely organized schedule. The welcome ceremony, the placement of government officials, the raising of national flags, the playing of national anthems, the honor guard, cultural performances, visits to historical monuments, and even the subjects discussed during official meetings are planned months in advance. The purpose extends far beyond hosting a successful diplomatic event. Each visit serves as an opportunity for North Korea to present its political culture, discipline, national pride, and diplomatic capabilities before the international community. For North Korea, state visits are much more than routine diplomatic meetings between governments. They are carefully orchestrated displays of national prestige, political messaging, and ideological commitment. This is why symbolism, protocol, and tradition place such a rigorous signature between leaders. Through these carefully coordinated elements, North Korea seeks to project itself as a disciplined, confident, and internationally respected state. As a result, every state visit becomes far more than a diplomatic engagement. It transforms into a grand demonstration of national identity, political authority, and international relations. A foreign head of state's visit to North Korea does not truly begin on the day their aircraft touches down in Pyongyang. In reality, the process starts weeks, sometimes even months in advance. To the outside world, only the grand arrival ceremony is visible. But behind that carefully choreographed spectacle lies months of complex planning, confidential negotiations, and meticulous preparation. Within North Korea's political system, a state visit is viewed as far more than a diplomatic formality. It is regarded as an instrument of national prestige, foreign policy strategy, and international messaging. For that reason, every detail, no matter how small, is planned with extraordinary precision. The first stage begins with diplomatic communication between the two governments. In most cases, one country's government formally invites the other nation's president or supreme leader to make an official state visit. Sometimes the invitation is announced publicly, allowing the international community to anticipate the visit. In other cases, however, the discussions remain strictly confidential until the final announcement is made shortly before the visit begins. Such secrecy is often a deliberate part of diplomatic strategy, particularly when sensitive political or strategic issues are involved. Once both governments officially agree to the visit, the real planning process begins. From that point onward, the foreign ministries, security agencies, military officials, protocol departments, and other government institutions of both countries work together to develop a comprehensive schedule. Every aspect of the visit is carefully mapped out: its duration, the locations to be visited, the leaders who will participate in meetings, the subjects to be discussed, the agreements that may be signed, and the messages that will be presented to the public. If the visit is intended primarily to reaffirm existing ties, the program is usually kept relatively simple. However, when the agenda includes new economic partnerships, defense cooperation, or major diplomatic agreements, the schedule becomes significantly more detailed and formal. One distinctive feature of North Korean state visits is that they extend far beyond political meetings. The itinerary typically includes cultural performances, visits to historical monuments and museums, ceremonies honoring national memorials, inspections of industrial facilities, and formal state banquets. These activities are not organized merely to entertain visiting dignitaries. They are designed to showcase North Korea's cultural heritage, industrial achievements, political system, and national accomplishments. In many ways, the entire visit becomes a carefully curated diplomatic exhibition, with every event carrying its own symbolic message. When the visitor is not a head of state, but rather a cabinet minister, ambassador, or senior government official, the ceremony is generally less elaborate. Instead of large-scale public receptions, the emphasis shifts toward technical meetings, intergovernmental discussions, visits to ministries and industrial projects, and practical administrative cooperation. Although these visits may lack the visual grandeur of a presidential summit, they often lay the groundwork for future high-level agreements and state visits. In fact, many historic diplomatic breakthroughs begin with negotiations conducted quietly at the official level long before world leaders ever meet in person. As the date of the visit approaches, Pyongyang itself begins to transform. Major roads are cleaned and prepared, government buildings are decorated, the national flags of both countries are displayed throughout the city. Welcome banners are installed, and every location on the official itinerary is carefully arranged. Security measures are intensified on an extraordinary scale. Multiple agencies repeatedly inspect every route, building, and venue to ensure that no security risk or logistical error remains. Discipline is a defining characteristic of North Korea's administrative system, and every official involved is assigned a clearly defined role long before the delegation arrives. When all preparations have finally been completed, the world's attention turns to the moment the visiting leader's aircraft lands in Pyongyang. Yet that single image, the arrival captured by cameras around the globe, is only the visible conclusion of weeks or even months of planning, coordination, security operations, and diplomatic calculation. This is precisely why every state visit to North Korea appears so seamless and perfectly organized. Behind the ceremony lies an extraordinary level of preparation, strategic thinking, and diplomatic precision that remains largely unseen by the public. After weeks and sometimes even months of diplomatic negotiations, strategic planning, and extensive security preparations, the moment everyone has been waiting for finally arrives. The instant a foreign head of state or high-level delegation touches down on the runway of Pyongyang Sunan International Airport, the official state visit formally begins. This is far more than the arrival of an aircraft. It is the opening act of a carefully orchestrated display of friendship, mutual respect, and political trust between two nations. North Korea treats this moment with exceptional importance because the eyes of the world's media are fixed on the arrival ceremony. As a result, every movement, from the aircraft's landing to the moment the visiting leader enters the official motorcade, follows a meticulously planned diplomatic protocol. As the aircraft comes to a halt, the atmosphere immediately shifts into one of ceremony and anticipation.
Waiting beside the runway are senior North Korean officials, cabinet ministers, military commanders, and representatives from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all standing in precisely designated positions. If the visitor is the president, prime minister, or supreme leader of a strategically important nation, North Korea's own top leadership may personally arrive at the airport to welcome the guest. Such a gesture goes far beyond diplomatic etiquette. In international diplomacy, receiving a foreign leader in person at the airport is regarded as one of the highest expressions of respect and signals the significance that the host nation places on the relationship.
The moment the aircraft door opens, attention turns to the staircase where the visiting leader will take their first steps onto North Korean soil. Slowly descending from the aircraft, the guest is greeted by smiling senior officials before exchanging handshakes and, on occasion, warm embraces with the host leader. Cameras flash from every direction, capturing what may appear to be a routine greeting. Yet in global diplomacy, these seemingly simple gestures often carry extraordinary meaning. The firmness of a handshake, a genuine smile, eye contact, body language, and every public interaction are closely analyzed by diplomats and political observers around the world, as they frequently provide subtle clues about the strength and future direction of bilateral relations. The airport itself is transformed into an impressive ceremonial venue. A red carpet stretches from the aircraft to the reception area, while military honor guards stand at attention on both sides in full ceremonial uniform. Behind them, a military band prepares to perform the national anthems of both countries. In many cases, school children and local citizens line the arrival route, waving the flags of both nations and enthusiastically welcoming the visiting delegation. Their smiles, coordinated displays, and patriotic atmosphere reinforce a message of friendship and mutual respect. The arrival ceremony is therefore not merely a formal welcome, it is a carefully choreographed public demonstration of diplomatic goodwill. Not every visit, however, receives the same level of ceremony. When the visitor is a cabinet minister, ambassador, or senior government official rather than a head of state, the reception is generally more modest. Senior representatives from the relevant ministry conduct the welcome, and the emphasis shifts towards practical cooperation rather than grand symbolism. Even so, North Korea maintains a tradition of extending formal respect to every official delegation, regardless of its rank or size. Throughout history, Pyongyang's airport has witnessed numerous moments of international significance. Heads of state from various countries have been greeted by thousands of flag-waving citizens, military honor guards, ceremonial salutes, and official presentations of flowers. Particularly during visits intended to mark reconciliation or strengthen long-standing partnerships, the welcome ceremonies have become especially elaborate and emotionally symbolic. Such occasions often transcend ordinary diplomacy and become defining moments in international relations. Once the arrival ceremony concludes, the visiting leader is escorted under tight security to the official state vehicle. Every member of the security detail is already in position, and each vehicle within the convoy has a carefully assigned role. As the guest enters the limousine, the motorcade slowly departs the airport and makes its way toward the heart of Pyongyang. From that moment onward, the state visit enters its next phase, where the motorcade itself becomes more than a means of transportation. It serves as a moving symbol of national prestige, discipline, security, and diplomatic power. As soon as the formal airport reception comes to an end, the next, and perhaps one of the most significant stages of the state visit begins.
At this point, the visiting head of state is no longer simply a guest, but the center of national attention. For that reason, the journey from the airport to the heart of Pyongyang is far more than ordinary transportation. It is transformed into a carefully choreographed state motorcade, designed not only to transport the visiting leader, but also to showcase North Korea's organization, infrastructure, administrative discipline, and national confidence. Every street along the route is selected in advance so that the guest experiences the parts of the capital that best represent the country's achievements, modernization, and national identity.
The moment the convoy leaves the airport, it moves through Pyongyang's broad, meticulously maintained boulevards. Government buildings, neatly landscaped streets, colorful national flags, and enormous welcome banners line the route. At various points, groups of citizens stand waving the flags of both nations as the motorcade passes, creating an atmosphere of celebration and diplomatic goodwill. Every section of the route has been prepared well in advance to project an image of order, stability, and national pride. For North Korea, this is not merely a drive through the city. It is an opportunity to present its capital as a symbol of discipline, development, and state authority before an international audience. The motorcade itself operates with military precision. Security vehicles lead the convoy, ensuring that every road ahead remains completely secure and free from potential disruptions. They're followed by police motorcycle escorts that maintain the convoy's pace and provide uninterrupted passage through the city. At the center of the procession travels the official limousine carrying the visiting leader, often accompanied by North Korea's supreme leader or another senior state official. Behind them follow vehicles transporting cabinet ministers, senior government officials, security personnel, medical teams, communication specialists, and members of the international media. Every vehicle maintains its assigned position, speed, and distance throughout the journey, creating a level of coordination that resembles a perfectly executed military operation. The choice of the official state vehicle is also made with considerable care. On many occasions, North Korea provides one of the specially designated vehicles used by its own leadership, while in other cases it may use a vehicle associated with the visiting nation as a gesture of diplomatic respect. Such decisions are not based solely on convenience. In international diplomacy, even seemingly minor details can communicate trust, mutual respect, and the importance both countries attach to their relationship. Upon reaching the capital, the most visually impressive public event of the visit begins, the official state welcome ceremony. The ceremony is usually held in one of Pyongyang's grand ceremonial squares, where the entire venue has been prepared long in advance. National flags of both countries decorate the surrounding buildings, massive welcome banners are displayed throughout the square, and a ceremonial stage is arranged for the two leaders to stand side by side. Opposite the stage, military honor guards wait in flawless formation, dressed in full ceremonial uniforms and standing at perfect attention. The ceremony begins with the national anthems of both countries. The host nation's anthem is played first, followed by that of the visiting country, while the flags of both nations are displayed with full ceremonial honors. On particularly significant occasions, a ceremonial gun salute accompanies the anthems, representing one of the highest forms of state respect. The two leaders then inspect the military honor guard, walking slowly along the ranks of soldiers before observing an impressive military parade. More than a demonstration of armed forces, the parade reflects the nation's discipline, organization, and confidence, projecting an image of unity and state strength to both domestic and international audiences.
Although these welcome ceremonies are most often conducted in large public squares, changing weather conditions or special circumstances may occasionally require them to be held inside major ceremonial halls or indoor arenas. Regardless of the venue, however, the core traditions remain unchanged. The honor guard, national flags, official greetings, ceremonial music, and the joint appearance of both leaders continue to serve as the defining elements of every North Korean state welcome ceremony. Once these public ceremonies conclude, the symbolic phase of the visit gives way to its most consequential stage. Away from the cameras, the leaders proceed to private meetings, strategic discussions, and official negotiations where the real substance of diplomacy takes place. It is within these closed-door conversations that future political partnerships, economic agreements, security cooperation, and long-term diplomatic relations are shaped, decisions whose impact often extends far beyond the visit itself and influences international relations for years to come.
The state visit agenda, the real diplomacy behind the ceremony. One of the defining characteristics of any state visit is that every moment is planned long before the visiting leader ever arrives. To the public, the visit may appear to be a sequence of welcome ceremonies, military parades, cultural performances, and lavish state banquets. In reality, however, each of these events serves a much larger political, economic, and strategic purpose. In North Korea, the itinerary for a foreign head of state's visit is designed with extraordinary precision. Every detail depends on who the guest is, which country they represent, the current state of bilateral relations, and the diplomatic objectives both governments hope to achieve. While every state visit follows a similar ceremonial framework, no two visits are exactly alike, because each reflects a different political context and strategic priority. After the official welcome ceremony, the visiting leader is escorted to the designated state guest house for a brief period of rest. Soon afterward begins the most important phase of the visit, high-level bilateral talks. During these meetings, the leaders of both countries sit face-to-face alongside foreign ministers, defense officials, economic advisors, senior diplomats, and representatives from key government ministries. Although the media is often allowed to capture the opening moments, the real discussions take place behind closed doors, away from cameras and public attention. It is inside these private meeting rooms that future foreign policy, economic partnerships, trade agreements, security cooperation, and long-term diplomatic strategies are negotiated and shaped. The agenda of these discussions typically covers a wide range of issues. Both governments explore opportunities to expand trade, encourage investment, strengthen scientific and technological cooperation, increase cultural exchanges, and deepen collaboration in defense and security. Existing agreements are reviewed, updated, and, when necessary, expanded to reflect changing geopolitical circumstances. On many occasions, entirely new treaties or partnership agreements are signed during these meetings. While these agreements are intended to strengthen bilateral relations, their impact often extends well beyond the two nations involved, influencing regional stability and, in some cases, the broader international balance of power. Beyond official negotiations, state visits also include a series of carefully planned symbolic events. Visiting leaders are often taken to important historical monuments, revolutionary memorials, or national landmarks that represent North Korea's history, political ideology, and national identity. There, they lay wreaths, observe moments of silence, and pay tribute to figures or events that hold deep significance for the host nation. These ceremonies may appear ceremonial, but in diplomacy they carry powerful symbolic meaning. Such gestures communicate respect for the host country's history, sacrifices, and national values, helping to strengthen political goodwill between the two governments. Many state visits also include tours of universities, scientific research institutes, industrial facilities, agricultural projects, or advanced technical training centers. These locations are selected deliberately rather than at random. North Korea uses these visits to highlight areas it considers symbols of national achievement and progress. During these tours, the visiting delegation meets local officials, observes ongoing projects, and explores opportunities for future cooperation in education, technology, industry, and economic development. As a result, these visits are far more than ceremonial excursions. They lay the foundation for future partnerships, joint initiatives, and long-term diplomatic engagement.
A state visit is far more than the journey of a foreign leader from one country to another. It is a carefully orchestrated stage where diplomacy, politics, culture, and national power come together, with every ceremony carrying a deeper strategic purpose. In North Korea, the formal schedule extends well beyond official meetings. State banquets bring together heads of state, senior ministers, and distinguished guests, where speeches celebrating friendship, mutual trust, and future cooperation are delivered with extraordinary care. Every word is closely examined by diplomats, international media, and political analysts, because even a single statement can reveal the future direction of bilateral relations. The following day often includes visits to national monuments, museums, and historical landmarks, where the visiting leader pays tribute to sites of national importance. On many occasions, both leaders also participate in symbolic activities, such as tree planting, representing long-term friendship and the hope for enduring cooperation. Alongside these public ceremonies, informal conversations between the two leaders provide an opportunity to discuss regional developments, future partnerships, and strategic concerns in a more personal setting. Although the farewell ceremony officially marks the end of the visit, the agreements reached, the trust established, and the relationships strengthened during those few days frequently shape diplomatic ties for many years afterward. North Korea's tradition of hosting state visits has its roots in the Cold War, when the world was divided into competing ideological blocs. During that era, Pyongyang regularly welcomed leaders from socialist nations such as the Soviet Union, Cuba, East Germany, Yugoslavia, and others. These visits were not merely diplomatic exchanges. They served as public demonstrations of political solidarity and ideological unity. Open-top motorcades, mass cultural performances, military ceremonies, and carefully choreographed public gatherings symbolized the close cooperation among socialist allies. Although the geopolitical landscape changed dramatically after the end of the Cold War and the collapse of the Soviet Union, the fundamental structure of North Korean state visits has remained remarkably consistent. Modern security measures may be more advanced, and economic cooperation now plays a larger role, but the emphasis on ceremony, symbolism, and national prestige continues to define every official visit. Ultimately, state visits in North Korea are much more than meetings between governments. They are carefully designed demonstrations of national dignity, diplomatic influence, and international image. Every stage, from the airport reception and military honor guard to the official talks, cultural performances, state banquets, and farewell ceremony, communicates a deliberate political message about the relationship between the two countries.
They also illustrate that a nation's influence is measured